Hey everyone, Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar, and today we are talking about direct boxes. So we've got 7 great examples here. You're gonna hear sound samples both on bass and guitar for each one of them. We're gonna go over each one of their unique features, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about direct boxes and why you might need one. Now, the obvious thing, and so often it's like, well, I have this 1/4-inch cable and I need to get it to a mixing console that has an XLR microphone cable. Practically speaking, yes, that is true. They absolutely do that, but there's a ton of other things that you can do with a direct box. Now, you can put them into 2 general categories. That's passive and active. If you're looking for a very simple guideline to follow, if you have an active source, match it with a passive direct box. If you have a passive source, match it with an active direct box. So think opposite. But again, that's not a hard and fast rule. Make sure you're experimenting, doing some research, and figuring out what might be best for the input source that you're giving to the direct box. From Rupert Neve Designs, we have the RNDI-M Active direct box. This is a rock solid direct box, and if you feel it, you can tell this thing is definitely built for the stage, but obviously it's its home in the studio as well. Super simple. You've got input, a through, and then your XLR output on the back with a ground lift. Also a 48-volt phantom power light to indicate that you're actually getting the power from your mixing board or audio interface that you need to use this box. Now, being an active direct box, this gives you an insane amount of headroom. It can handle input levels in excess of 20 dBs. So that will handle pretty much any source you can throw at it, whether it's a keyboard, a synth, an active electric bass, an acoustic guitar with active electronics. You've also got Rupert Neve Design custom transformers, Class A amplifiers, just really everything to maintain that signal purity over short cable runs, long cable runs, really in any situation, whether you're in the studio or on stage. From Grace Design, we have the M303 fully isolated active DI. The case is super cool in this anodized blue, and it's got the typical ins and outs that you would find on an active DI. Input, through, and your XLR out. However, they don't stop there. Of course, you do have your ground lift switch to get rid of any hums. On the other side, you've got a 13 decibel pad. So this is super useful when it comes to a very hot signal that you might be running into this. You can go ahead and throw that pad on, no problem. Something that's also really unique about this is that if you're wondering how close you are to getting to that peak point, most DIs don't have any indication on that. You got to look at your mixer or your DAW or your interface. On this box, you actually have a peak LED right here. And this LED is going to illuminate 3 decibels before the peak or clipping is going to be happening. So you're going to be safely in that range, no problem, right at the source here as you're plugging into this before you even get to your mixing console or whatever you're plugging into. Internally, you've got a custom wound Lundell transformer. This is going to give you just a massive dynamic range on this, just pristine audio quality with whatever you plug into it, particularly on the low end on this. So really nice for bass guitar or keyboards, that sort of thing. From Telefunken, we have the TDA-1 Mono Direct Box. So if you're looking for an active direct box that has just an incredibly flat frequency response, the TDA-1 is something you should check out. You've got all of the very simple to use inputs and outputs you are used to finding on an active DI, input through, as well as the XLR out on the back. 15 decibel pad for those really hot sources, as well as a ground lift if you're running into any hums or buzzes. Internally, you've got a custom wound OEP Carnhill transformer, Class A FET circuitry, and it's just enclosed in this almost indestructible seeming box that I think you could probably stand on no problem. So it's going to be at home on stage, despite its very studio gear look. From Hosa, we have the Sidekick Active Direct Box. In this case, you've got a DI, but a few different things that focus on passive pickups. Obviously, this can be used with just about anything. Like I said at the beginning of the video, experiment with your input sources. You've got a couple extra things on this. Of course, you have a ground lift to get rid of those hums. It does require the 48 volt phantom power, so you have a light to indicate that there. You've got a pad, but you've got 3 different options on the pad here. 0, so no pad, 15 dB, and 30 dB. So again, this can handle just about anything you throw at it as far as an input source, but it's really, really nice for lower output passive pickups. From Radial, we have the JDI Passive Direct Box, and this thing is really, really a lot of tools in one. At its core, it's a passive direct box. So you can use this just like you would for any of your hotter active guitars, basses, keyboards, really anything you can throw at it. Try it out with this. It's probably going to work great. Internally, it's got a Jensen transformer, which is why these things sound so good. Now, when you start to look at this, though, we've got a lot of switches and buttons on here, and this is where it gets very interesting. As I said, you can use this just as a typical mono passive direct box with your input, your through, and then your XLR out, of course. However, we do have this switch right here called merge. So if you've ever been in a situation where you have a stereo source, like a keyboard, for example, and you say, I don't really need that to be stereo in the house if I'm playing a live gig, hit this merge button, all of a sudden the through becomes your right input. So you take your stereo signal, it merges it, sums it to the XLR out here. Not only have you eliminated the need for having 2 DIs, but you also condensed down to 1 channel on the mixing board, which is really nice. In addition to that, of course, you've got a polarity switch, a ground switch, so you can get rid of any hums or setup for your keyboard, plus a 15 decibel pad. Now you also have a speaker button, and this is going to introduce an additional pad. What that's doing is it's emulating the sound of a 12-inch guitar cabinet speaker. So sky's the limit there as far as how you want to use that. If you want some extra vibe from a passive direct box, you have that option here with the JDI as well. From Radial, we've got the J48 Active direct box. Now this box has been specifically designed to be optimized with the 48 volt phantom power that is required to power it. Now, 48 volt phantom power is not all created equally, and sometimes active direct boxes can suffer because of that. Not the J48. This is designed to handle all of that without you having to think about it and just give you the highest headroom and most versatile version of a direct box that they can to you in the active category. Couple features to note: we have all of the typical inputs, throughputs, and outputs with the XLR here that you would expect to find on a Radial DI. In addition to that, speaking if you are running sound, you will always appreciate a nice low cut switch, and this J48 Radial DI has one of those. So if you have a big Dreadnought acoustic plugged into this and you want to get rid of some of that unnecessary low end so it sits nicely in the mix before you have to start EQing it, hit that low cut switch and your sound engineer will thank you. From Palmer, we have the ILM Passive Speaker Simulation DI box. Now this is going to cover a lot of bases for you. At its core, you can use it as a typical passive direct box. You've got an input, a through, your XLR out on the back, a ground lift to get rid of those hums, and an attenuator. So you have 0, 15, and 30 decibels that you can switch here. Palmer did not stop there though. You do have 3 different speaker emulations available in this. And the way you can use those are a few different ways. You could take your favorite guitar preamp and say, well, I want to utilize the normal, bright, and mellow speaker settings on the direct box and find out which sounds the best for me and avoid having to mic anything. You can also take your favorite actual amplifier and turn that into a direct solution as well, where you have speaker emulation in a nice small package. You can fit right in the back of your combo amp, and you eliminate the need for a microphone on a stage, introduce some consistency into the sound that you're giving to front of house, all while not having to modify your traditional pedal board and amp rig. All of this included in a rock solid enclosure ready for the stage or the back of your amplifier, depending on how you want to use this. They even include a rewritable tour label for the back so you can label it and know which one of these DIs, because you'll probably have a few of them, goes to which instrument on stage. So there you have it, 7 direct box options, some passive, some active, some with extra features, some just rock solid simple, and they sound great. As I said at the beginning, which one is right for you is really going to depend on the application. You could have a need for a multitude of DIs depending on what you're plugging into them, whether you're running a studio, a venue, if you're on tour, if you're a solo act, or just playing at home. That is really going to determine which one is right for you. Hopefully this was helpful to start your journey into finding a really high quality direct box for anything you can think of plugging into it. Once again, my name is Tom Butwin here for Premier Guitar. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything in the future, and I'll see you in the next one.